Thanks everybody for joining us today. This is Protoscore and Upcurve Cloud presenting. So we've got Joey presenting from Upcurve Cloud and Matthew Samuel who's presenting from Protoscore. So we're going to begin with Joey. Joey's going to take us through how we're using AI, artificial intelligence, and how that's driving the future of business. And then at the end, if we've got enough time, hopefully we'll have Matthew be able to show us some real world applications through Protoscore of how we're using Google Cloud or GCP, as well as their artificial intelligence and natural language processing engines in real world applications. Joey, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jason. And again, thank you guys for joining us this morning. As Jason mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about Google Cloud, G Suite, and AI really, and what that means for customers, what that means for business users, and how that is going to affect your day-to-day work life. As we all know, we're in the midst of another digital revolution. Everything has gone from on-prem to the cloud, and now it's at another point in the journey of digital transformation where you have access to this data, and how do you make it work for you? Well, so what I'm going to talk about right now is just some of the new features that are being built into the G Suite platform that are going to help you improve productivity, going to help you understand utilization better, and it's really going to help you work smarter and not harder. If any of you are not familiar with some of these new AI built-in features in G Suite, I would encourage you to email me, let me know. Most of these have already started rolling out to customers worldwide. If for some reason you don't have access to it, it could be a setting, but I'm going to jump into some of what has been released from Google in terms of artificial intelligence. The first one is Smart Reply. And this is Smart Reply not only in chats, but also in your mobile application of Gmail and your desktop, or I'm sorry, your browser version of Gmail. You can probably already notice that when you open up an email, there's 3 or 4 options at the bottom with what's called Quick Reply. This is taking into consideration how you interact in your day-to-day. So it allows you to easily just click a button that has a response instead of having to type it out. So it's learning your behavior. This is if you think about how powerful this is, right? If you're just in a rush to do something or on the road, right? Instead of having to open it up and reply, you just click the hit auto reply button, and it's automatically sends that person the message. So it really adapts to the way that you speak and you like to work. AI is now also being improved within the Gmail interface, and the term for this is called Smart Compose. Again, if this is something you haven't started realizing yet, or haven't started using, or don't have it available for you, let us know. It could be just a setting that's turned off, because this should be available for everybody now. And what this does is, as you start typing, Google will make suggestions on how to finish the sentence so that you don't even have to think about it. It is extremely powerful. And again, it starts to learn how you communicate so that it gives you suggestions based off your type of wording, frequently used keywords, so on and so forth. It adapts to the way you work. So you could just start typing, as you can see in this example, please let me know, and then it'll automatically finish, what time are you available? And you just click the tab button and it finishes that sentence for you. It's actually become very powerful when you start using it on a day-to-day basis. The other feature built into the G Suite ecosystem is grammar corrections. This is something we all struggle with, I think, on a day-to-day basis. As we're typing things out, maybe we don't have a period in the right spot or a capital letter. This is going to give you those suggestions on how to help improve your grammar. There's a lot of paid tools that do this, but Google's starting to roll this out. It's in early stages now. It's in beta. It's going to start to get smarter and smarter as time goes by. But again, this is one of those tools that is being built into the G Suite ecosystem that's going to help you work smarter. In terms of meeting, AI is now being built into some of the different communication channels that you're using with G Suite. For instance, if any of you are using Chromebox or Chromebooks for meetings, you can now voice activate and start a meeting with your voice instead of having to click the buttons. There's also the ability to have it automatically start the meeting at a certain time. So if you've pre-scheduled a meeting with a Hangout link at 9 a.m., when you walk into that conference room, that meeting will already be started. It'll be posted up on the screen without you having to even think about it. So these are things that are being built into G Suite right now that's going to help improve your communication. It's going to help you be more intuitive. And all these features are available for the browser version, also the mobile version. Now that's, AI at a baseline. What we're going to talk about now, and I'm going to have Matthew speak on this, is what does AI at the next level look like? What does it look like in terms of really understanding your internal communication, your data, and how can that help you as a business increase productivity and increase revenue? So Matthew, I'm going to hand it over to you, and we can get started into talking about Protoscore and what that is.
Great. Thank you, Joey. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Can everyone hear me? Joey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. So when we first kind of if we want to click to the next slide, Joey, we've got really, I think it's key for us to understand, Joey talks about what Google's doing in regards to the AI, machine learning, and really on a day-to-day, how can that be applied to helping the end user, helping every individual. But really, I think the main question that organizations face is really, how can technology help me to drive my business forward, drive growth, and ultimately thrive? And what we find here is really key for us in a space that Protoscore lies in, where we're in analytics and AI and utilizing machine learning. We find that organizations really need to kind of first step back and say, where do we fit within this digital transformation? And really, that's a key driver for us when we have these conversations. Are the companies that we're working with open to new or innovative technologies like AI, machine learning, and are they interested in applying those new technologies to actually increasing their business? And this is actually a study that came from Microsoft, but it really focuses on companies that are understanding of the value of innovation and technology, specifically in the digital space, have been actually more prone to seeing higher growth of revenue rather than skeptics, or the actual companies that tend to wait to see if technology is actually going to become kind of a mainstay. So if we want to click to the next slide. So I think when we talk about organizations, I mean, many companies, they obviously migrate to a communications platform like a phone system. They communicate via their office tools like Hangouts, chat, email, things like that. And then they usually have a CRM. And I think the key for us coming from a company that is looking at this is, how can we as a organization understand how those different technologies can integrate and talk to each other to provide insight and also ultimately productivity. And really, I think the key focus is when we talk about organizations, they don't want to switch their phone system. They don't want to switch their communications. They don't want to switch CRMs, because that really is T perspective, those individuals want to deal with, but also the end user. And really, when they're doing that, is they're trying to make a move towards growth. And how can they actually move towards that growth is making those advancements in technology. And what we find is organizations that make those moves, they have the idea that they're going to have better visibility from their CRM. It's going to help with management of the organizations and hopefully accurate forecasting, so they make better decisions. From an office tools, they migrate for efficiency, more collaboration, wherever those employees might be. And then ultimately, communications platform like a UCaaS or some sort of a VoIP allows them to work wherever they might be, as well as hopefully see some reductions in cost. What we find is more and more organizations today that make those digital transformation moves, the reality is what you see here: lack of integrations, People aren't using the same platforms, which causes inconsistency with forecasting from a CRM perspective, reporting challenges. Obviously, any organization that is migrated from, say, one platform to, say, G Suite, getting everyone to use the same platform can be sometimes a struggle. So you have overlapping tools can cause integration challenges. And then obviously from a telephony perspective, do people actually use the soft phone applications or other applications built into those platforms to actually see the result or the ROI from that? And usually they don't. They pick up their cell phone or they use whatever they have at their disposal. So when we talk about this, organizations are starting to look towards AI and machine learning, and that is really where Protoscore lies. So Protoscore is an application that is able to take all the different aspects that are built in the GCP platform in which we're built, and we're able to use natural language processing, speech to text, as well as really just pulling all the data from the different disparate systems that people use into a single dashboard for managers or admins or even the end user to have a visibility and understanding of what people are working on, what they're using, how they're just talking about those specific topics, and what's ultimately trending. And that information allows companies as well as the actual just end users to say, oh, I understand that this is something that I should be doing, or I'm not using this technology, and maybe management needs to engage and say, you can use that. But I think when we talk about it, since we're talking about AI and machine learning, when you can understand what's trending across a company based on natural language processing or speech to text, and that's automatically pulled into a dashboard, it can be very empowering. So we talk about this, Google is the heart of this. So everything is running through the GCP platform and using those different technologies like NLP, sentiment analysis, voice transcription, we can show everyone what is trending from a topic perspective. If people are talking about Google or they're talking about purple ice cream, we can see that. We can also see the ability to understand who's engaging with that company the most. And we can do that based on pulling data through all the platforms you see here. And what that ultimately does for the organization as well as the employee allows less management involvement, allowing those employees to go about their normal day-to-day operations in the different tools that they use, but allowing that intelligence to filter up to those that can make decisions to gain a better outcome about how they manage not only the people, but also the technology and the resources that they provide to those employees, but also potentially allowing employees to work remotely, as well as making decisions on real estate. So it can ultimately help making better decisions through the help of machine learning and AI to have a better outcome. And actually, it's very interesting because we've been doing this roughly for about 2 years. We've had an application, and we've got a lot of case studies out there. And I'm actually going to highlight some actually successes and actually based off of some specific data that we have. Now, obviously, everything comes down to adoption. Ultimately, if people aren't using the technology that is being disposed or put out to those employees, starting with your G Suite, you're not going to see the results. And Protoscore is able to, after we found that companies were actually aware and their employees were aware that their utilization of G Suite and other applications was based on their scoring, we saw a significant uptick. So this is actually based off of one of our specific customers, and that customer found after they had been on Protoscore, they saw an increase of 160% of Google Docs, a 22% increase in just Gmail activity, 317% increase in chats. And I think that's very telling because ultimately that is the tool that the company had decided that they wanted to roll out to gain collaboration, visibility, and understanding of how to work better. You want to click to the next one, Joey? Now we talk about G Suite. G Suite obviously is an application that many companies hopefully use at a core of their day-to-day activities, but we have applications like CRM, which are definitely not inexpensive from a user per user rate, but also one of the main concerns with that would be adoption. And this is actually more statistics we found from the same customer. We were able to show that there was an overall increase of about 198% of actual activities of Salesforce after they've been on it. And not only were they using it just at one point in the day, where they're maybe before or after their day, but employees were actually engaging within that software throughout the day, as you can see here. And what that is really showing the actual end users are understanding that ProtoScore and the AI and machine learning that back that, we're actually taking into account when they touch that application, wherever they might be, and that has actually significantly increased the adoption of that tool, which has allowed management to have better reporting, better understanding of how they can manage those employees. So we talk about this as well. We talked about UCaaS being another one of those pillars, right? So voice over IP is definitely a software that has really come along quite a bit over the past 10 to 15 years. It's kind of something that was a driver technology then, and now it's really a mainstay. Many organizations are doing that, but with the increase of cellular phones, we find that many of the employees that work remotely, or even if they're at their desk, it's easier for them just to pick up their mobile phone and dial out over the cellular network. What we find is what that causes organizations is a lack of that data. Those contacts aren't being saved and used by the business because they're in that personal mobile device, and that can really affect how the business manages or understands where their customer base is or partners or whoever they engage with. What we found is with one of these specific customers of ours that after they were on this ProtoScore, the actual intelligence showed the ability for us to see an increase of 800% utilization of that telephony platform rather than utilizing those other devices. And I think really at the end of the day, that why do we make this digital transformation? Why do we want to use AI and machine learning in our business? And that's really, I think, what this shows. This is actually based off of one of those organizations that we showed the data on, and it's a sales organization, but we found here that the individuals that tended to have the higher scoring based on the data pulled from ProtoScore tended to be the highest contributing sales individuals. And what that showed was also a significant uptick in activity within those applications, which drove more opportunities, which ultimately drove more revenue. And that really showed that the AI machine learning that backed ProtoScore was able to drive employee behavior towards a better outcome for the company. And I think that's really all I wanted to impart today. One thing that I would just leave everyone with, this is definitely an application that seeing it really makes it seem to be a little bit easier to understand. If you'd like me to schedule a demo with you to go through ProtoScore or even try a proof of concept of our product so we see how it affects your company, you can obviously contact us after the webinar. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the time. And to Matt's point, this tool, we use it internally here every single day, and it's really helped transition our business in terms of being able to coach our employees better, manage our employees better, and really understand what needs to be done to help improve their day-to-day activity. And when you help improve their activity and you help improve the adoption of all these tools that you've spent a lot of money on, it does correlate to an increase in revenue, right? It's, sometimes just the lack of adoption is what's holding your company back from getting to that next milestone. And the question should be asked, how can you as a business owner or an executive or an employee help accommodate this new environment? And it really comes down to just opening up and talking to us about what are some of your current pain points. Let's take a look at your technology stack. Let's look at what can be integrated, because that's the key to all this is integration. If your information is still sitting in siloed buckets, you're not getting the most efficient analytics on it. The more and more you can feed the analytic machine and get real-time information, the more accurate you're going to be able to provide insight and assistance. So what do we do to help bring this all together? As Upcurve Cloud, we are one of the premier G Suite partners, Google Cloud partners, but also above and beyond that, we are technology enthusiasts that really want to help companies get the right technology stack for their business. So setting up a call with one of our digital experts, looking at what you're currently using now. Maybe you're underutilizing G Suite. Maybe you have siloed applications, right? Let's take a look at how we can help get you to the point of using some of these technologies and getting the data behind it. Because again, I can't stress enough how important integration is within your environment. So with that being said, this is what we wanted to bring to your attention today. Some of the AI tools, what we're doing as an organization to help you get from here to there, and hopefully you'll schedule a call or follow up with one of us to really dive a little bit deeper into how we can help accommodate your business and help you improve productivity.
Great. Thanks, Joey and Matthew. We've got about 5 minutes left on the webinar. Covered a lot of material here. Does anybody have any questions for any of this? While we wait, Matthew, does Protoscore only work with G Suite?
That's a great question, Jason. Yes, Protoscore is built on the GCP platform, and we take into account many of those machine learning applications, and that's really makes our product very dynamic. So today, Protoscore is only available to G Suite customers, but we are an API-driven product company. So if there's anything outside of G Suite that needs to be implemented or integrated into Protoscore, as long as you have that, we can connect APIs to that.
Great. All right, here's a jump ball for either one of you. So anytime that you start talking about monitoring what people are doing, you're going to get people that are concerned about what's that going to mean as far as, kind of that big brother question. Is somebody going to be watching every one of my keystrokes? Is it going to become, kind of an authoritative, place that I'm coming into work? What's been your guys' experience on that front?
Yeah, I guess I'll take it from a Protoscore side, and Joey can obviously elaborate on it.
Yeah.
Say it internally, but what we find is Protoscore is not creating any of the data that we have visibility of, and all that data is employee-based data from that organization. So it's their emails, their chats, their drives, whatever it might be, all that data. The key for that is we pull this data into one single dashboard and we analyze it through our algorithm, and we use machine learning to actually add intelligence to that data. The key for the employee that has those concerns about this is those employees already are being monitored or have managers should have visibility into their day-to-day things based on the applications they use. But what Protoscore also applies to them is it makes it easier for the manager or the admins of that account to have intelligence on how they can help increase their performance, meaning instead of having conversation with them saying, what did you do today, and spend all that time focused on that, they can have a more impactful discussion saying, I know what you did today, you did a great job with this, but you know what, I think there's some things we can help you with based on the information that I have. Causes less interaction between management and also happier employees because they're allowed to do their job as well as gain recognition from that.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. Right, it's one of those topics that if you communicate it effectively right out of the gate to your employees, believe it or not, the result is going to be in favor of you as the company. If it's something you're trying to hide, that could cause some concern. But if you're open and honest with how and why this is being deployed, it's going to have positive effect. And from a business standpoint, the employees need to understand that these tools are not cheap. There's a huge cost associated with it, not only just on a license cost, but resources cost, time, evaluation. And a business needs to make sure that if they're making this big investment, that employees are going to be using these tools. Because the worst thing that can happen is you spend all this money and no one is using the tools. So there's a lot of value in having this type of data. And to Matt's point earlier, a lot of this data is already there. It's just a matter of now you can access it from a single source. Right? This data is all over the place within your business, but how do you use it to your advantage as a business owner or as an executive? So the whole big brother theory really is not relevant here if it's communicated properly.
Great. I think we've got time for one last one. We have somebody asking, they don't have many cloud applications beyond G Suite, but they are interested in improving adoption of G Suite. So they're asking, is Protoscore a good match for that limited scope?
Sure, absolutely. Protoscore, the prerequisite is G Suite. So that is the one application that you have to be on in order to even turn on Protoscore, so to speak. So absolutely, Protoscore will be able to give you visibility into how are your employees using all the applications within G Suite, so that you can then tailor your training or communication, or we can work with you to do this, to say, okay, these 5 or 6 people for some reason are just not using Calendar. Let's find out why not. Or these 2 or 3 people just for some reason still are having trouble accessing Google Drive or Docs. So being able to understand that and tailor the type of adoption training to help improve those areas is extremely valuable. So the answer is yes. Protoscore can absolutely be used as a tool to help adoption with G Suite.
Well, in fact, Matthew, I believe, didn't Protoscore recently have a article highlighted by Google about a customer that was primarily using Protoscore just to drive adoption of G Suite?
I was just going to say that, Jason. You read my mind. Yeah. Yes, we actually do. We've got many case studies that have come out on the increase of adoption, specifically Specialty Lighting Group, which is a large organization that's been using Protoscore for about a year now. They had migrated half their company to G Suite, and the other half was stuck on Microsoft just due to concerns from certain employees and not losing Outlook, losing applications built into the Microsoft suite. They were deployed Protoscore within 60 days. They were able to pull the Band-Aid off, able to migrate everyone over because they could see that the value that they were gaining from that, and also knowing which employees needed additional training rather than others. So we've got that case study on protoscore.com, but we can also talk to that if any of the would like to discuss that further.
Great. All right, well, we're out of time today. Like I said, we'll send emails with follow-up, as well as links to the recording and the deck. You can reply to any of those emails, and you'll be able to get back to us directly. So if you want additional information, you want to schedule a demo, want to talk through your use case, any of those, all you have to do is reply to the email. And thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch shortly. Thank you, guys.